with the 23rd selection.
With the 49th pick.
With the 60th pick.
With the 48th pick.
24th pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Cameron Jordan, defensive end, California.
Jordan's going to get the sack at the 5-yard line.
The New Orleans Saints select Alvin Kamara.
Kamara with it off. Lane going to catch him. Touchdown.
Running back from Mississippi, Deuce McAllister.
The New Orleans Saints select Reggie Bush.
Inside the 10, dives in.
With the 11th pick, the New Orleans Saints select Chris Olave.
We've made it to draft week, weeded through all of the mock drafts, and it's time to break down the Saints heading into the 2025 NFL Draft. Welcome into our Saints 2025 Draft Preview Show alongside Saints beat reporter John Hendrix. I'm Erin Summers, and I am one of those people that, it might be kind of hokey, but I love the draft because this is when all these players' dreams come true. John, what do you look forward to?
It's a chance to improve the team, right? I mean, you get to get new blood in here and just new guys and get to a new regime, if you will, under Kellen Moore. So I think that's really exciting as Saints fans. And of course, like you said, I remember guys like Cesar Ruiz, seeing his reaction, just all these guys that have their dream come true, Taliesin Fuanga last year and all that. That's really what it's all about. All the hard work they put into it now comes true. A dream comes true when it comes to draft night.
It's always fun hearing from the players right after they're picked. And the first pick that the Saints are going to have in the draft comes first round, number 9 overall. Then they have a second round pick, number 42, third round picks at 71 and 90, 2 fourth round picks, a 6th round, and a 7th round. Now, there's been a lot of chatter about this first round pick for the Saints, number 9 overall. There are a lot of people that would like to get into the top 10. What is your take on how to handle that pick?
Yeah, look, I think you're looking at somebody who can come in immediately, be able to start for you, kind of push to be a big contributor, right? Like that's what the Saints kind of need when you have coming off a season where you're 5-12. You need somebody that's going to have that impact from day one, right? Somebody who's a tone setter, somebody that maybe you can get 5 to 10 years from now is going to be a staple for you, just like what they got with Taliesin Fuanga last year. And so I feel like what you're needing for this team is somebody who's going to come in, impact day one. They need somebody who's going to help start this new regime off on the right foot.
Speaking of the new regime, a lot of moves in the offseason for the Saints, starting with the new head coach in Kellen Moore. Then you go to offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier and defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. How are the new coaches going to impact how the Saints might approach the draft?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously they have some familiarity there, whether it was the time in Dallas, Los Angeles, Philly. There's a couple of different, obviously, recent connections there, and so there's also some new blood in there, guys like Terry Joseph and bringing it to the table. And so I'm really excited to see how this works together because there's some familiarity there for Kellen Moore, and there's some guys that they're not so familiar with. And so just one of those exciting things as a new regime comes to play.
Well, let's hear from one of our former players, offensive lineman Jon Stinchcomb, on his take on how Moore will handle the offensive line.
I think you look at Coach Moore's history, and it wasn't just one way of doing things. I think he did an incredible job of trying to match scheme with personnel. And now that he is at the helm, you can kind of craft both to each other. You can draft the players that you want to fit the system that you want. And it will be interesting to see what is the Moore system look like and what type players is he looking for. There are still some needs across the board when you look at this roster, and I don't think we have a very clear-cut starting 5 in this offensive line, and I'm sure they would love, whether it's a first, second, or third round, to be able to add a couple pieces, or at least one, to kind of solidify that group.
From the coaching staff, you move into the free agency moves. Players that were retained: defensive end Chase Young, tight end Juwan Johnson, both re-signed with the Saints, and they had great careers last season, so we're looking for them to build off of that. The big additions: safety Justin Reed, defensive lineman Devon Godshaw, and then they brought back some former Saints with cornerback Isaac Yiadom, wide receiver Brandon Cooks, and offensive lineman Will Clapp. Couple departures, including cornerback Paulson Adebo, safety Will Harris, leaves you a little thin in the back end there. We might need to address the secondary when we get into the draft. Speaking of the needs, what are they, do you think?
Look, I think for the draft, obviously, you want to come away, maybe obviously reinforce those trenches a good bit. It's always a big philosophy for the Saints is to build from the trenches within. I know that people may not like the offensive line pick or the defensive line pick, but you got to start there, especially when you're trying to say, Kellen Moore's offense, look at what he was able to do in Philly. You don't do that unless you have a strong offensive line and you don't stop the run, then you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. And so I think there's a lot of ways that the Saints can go. I'd like to see him come away with a good pass catcher, whether that's a tight end or a wide receiver, a couple other players, or it's something along that lines. And of course, maybe somebody on that back end.
Yeah, cornerback, safety. We know that there is Kool-Aid McKinstry, who played last season, had a good rookie year. 15 games started, 9 of them, 42 tackles, 6 passes defensed. Looking at the rookies from last season, you think a couple of them are primed to move into bigger roles this year?
Kool-Aid McKinstry is probably the top one, right? I think he's somebody that is going to take a big leap. Brandon Staley's defense, that's obviously a big one for the Saints to look at, and curious to see how he does on the outside. I think he's got a lot more responsibility. I think Taliese Fuanga is going to be somebody that takes a big leap, and of course, Spencer Rattler. That's a big one that we're looking for, even with everything that's going on. I think that he's somebody, when you talk to coaches, when you talk to players, everybody talks about their second year, how the game slows down for them. And I think for Spencer Rattler, that's going to be key for him in this offseason. And I'm curious to see what happens with guys like Bub Means, Jalen Ford, Christian Boyd, some of those guys from last year. That's definitely what's going to make me happy to see some of these guys grow and develop.
Health is going to be a big factor in maybe Spencer Rattler having a better opportunity this season if he gets in. The offensive line a little depleted. Speaking of offensive linemen, let's go back to Stinch and get his thoughts on how to handle a top 10 pick.
There's really, in my opinion, only 4 position groups that are worthy of that sort of investment on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously quarterback, and then offensive tackle. I think those are difference makers. And then defensively, you're looking at it and you either want to get a lockdown corner like we've been able to find in years past, or somebody who can pressure the quarterback, so an edge rusher. So in my opinion, those are kind of the 4 positions that are deserving of that top 10 consideration. And I think there's a number of players that could help not only the Saints team, but any team. And when you have that top 10 pick, you want it to be a impact on your organization for years and years to come.
Number 9 is a popular spot. The Saints getting in the top 10 for the first round. Reports are out about them even taking calls for maybe moving in the second round. How likely are the Saints to trade on any of the draft days?
I mean, that's their MO, right? They've traded up every year for a while. They haven't traded back since 2007. Last year, trade for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Year before that, Jay Kaner, Nick Saldiveri, some of those guys that they acquired. And of course, the year before that was how they got Trevor Penning, Chris Olave, and that type of deal. And so, look, trading up, whether it's on day 1, day 2, I know day 3, that's usually where they're going to really try to move up a little bit. But day 2, I definitely see them moving up. First day, I'd like to see him keep a lot because it's 6 picks within the top 150. That's a chance to really improve your franchise. So I'd like to see him keep some of those picks, but I know it's coming. Everybody knows that you're going to trade at some point.
Well, since 2000, the Saints have moved up in the first 3 rounds 12 times. That is near the top out of any other team, and we'll see if they continue the same MO this season. On the other side, we are going to get into some of the players, the prospects, give you some names to watch in rounds 1, 2, and 3.